basically the neck control exercises, and then progress to rolling, sitting, then independent sitting, crawling, assisted by standing and walking. So the main this thing is, first we have to strengthen the baby's core stabilization muscles. So we have to work on the active assisted exercises, because in most of the centers, therapy centers, the physiotherapist doesn't assess the tone of the babies with Down syndrome 21. So it is like mostly the babies with the trisomy 21 present with hypertonia, that is low muscle tone. So basically the therapist will start, in other centers will not assess the trisomy 21 properly, and they'll start with like passive passive exercises. So that should be a major distinct to the other therapist. So the core stabilization exercise, like active exercise, assisted exercises like pelvic bridges plays a main role. That exercise should be continued till the baby starts walking. Then slowly we have to progress to the neck control exercises, that because of the instability of the atlantoaxial joint, the therapist should start with neck strengthening exercises, then progress to rolling exercises till the baby attains that delayed milestone. Then it should come to sitting, and that like sideline sitting, which involves a large group of core muscles, and it will also help in stabilizing the shoulder also, which shoulder stabilization exercises plays a major role in special education as well as the speech therapy, because sitting is very important in both. And the therapist, after that this thing like sitting, after the baby comes to sitting, slowly the therapist progress to crawling position. Crawling position, this four-leg position is also very important, because it involves a large group of core muscles, which is the main thing in the gross motor activities. After the child attains the crawling position and starts crawling, slowly the therapist should progress to kneeling and half kneeling exercises, which is also one of the plays a more major role in the core stabilization exercises, which progress the child to standing on his own and later to walking. As most of the babies with trisomy 21 have knock knees, the therapist should strengthen the knee strengthening muscles, because they should strengthen the knee strengthening muscles, which involves the child to stop from that wide gait pattern, because there's a instability in the pelvic hip joint, that is the instability in the hip joint. So the therapist should work on the core muscles more, like back extensors and mainly the stomach muscles and the hip flexor muscles.
Oh, great, Mithula. The thing is, what she is ma'am, you want to tell? Yes.
शुरुआती दिनों में ही बच्चों के शुरू कर देनी चाहिए। जैसे ही हम हृदय आदि की जांच कराते हैं बच्चे की, और अगर हृदय से संबंधित कोई रोग होता है, उसके निदान के बाद फिजियोथेरेपी शुरू कर सकते हैं। मुख्य रूप से ये ग्रॉस मोटर स्किल्स के साथ काम करने पर शुरू होती है। ग्रॉस मोटर स्किल्स यानी कि गर्दन का संभालना, जो कि इसमें बहुत बड़ा रोल करता है। उसके बाद बच्चा पलटना शुरू करता है, घुटनों पर चलना शुरू करता है। इन सब के लिए भी फिजियोथेरेपी के व्यायाम डाउन सिंड्रोम से प्रभावित बच्चों के लिए ज़रूरी हैं। हाइपोटोनिया एक मुख्य वजह है जिस पे ध्यान देना चाहिए, और ये हर तरह के व्यायाम में और हर तरह की उसके माइलस्टोन में मुख्य रोल अदा करता है। गर्दन और पलटने की, बैठने के बाद बैठने की एक्सरसाइज शुरू कराते हैं। बैठने की एक्सरसाइज में कंधों की एक्सरसाइज भी होती है। कंधों की एक्सरसाइज बच्चे की स्पेशल एजुकेशन में बैठने में, खड़े होने में बहुत ज़रूरी है। फिर घुटनों की एक्सरसाइज होती है झुकने के लिए और बाद में खड़े होने के लिए। घुटनों की एक्सरसाइज बहुत ज़रूरी है। कूल्हों की मसल्स का व्यायाम भी इसी के बाद शुरू हो जाता है। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Mithula. So she has highlighted about the importance of assessment. So important to assess, because whatever physiotherapy you give, the child has a basic abnormality like congenital dislocation of hip. It may delay the walking. And another important thing is parents will come and say, we are making the child stand, we are making the child walk, but the child wouldn't have attained head control or even the back control. So the thing is, the development starts from the head, it goes till the legs. So first is head control, neck control, then the back gets strengthened, the child starts sitting, then the hip gets strengthened, the child crawls, and then the legs get strengthened, the child starts walking. So this is the order, and they will obviously professionally, they will start from head to toe, strengthening all the muscles one by one. Thanks a lot for highlighting that. I'll move on to ma'am. Nutrition is very, very important. So as far as children with Down syndrome are concerned, there are so many myths regarding nutrition, regarding avoiding foods and all, and particularly sometimes if it is associated with hypothyroidism. So it is very, very important to balance both the nutrition and the health also. So nutrition is very, very important for early childhood. Madam will highlight about that.
उससे पहले मैं आप सबसे अनुरोध करना चाहती हूँ, कृपया हॉल में शांति बनाए रखें. बच्चे बहुत प्यारे हैं, हम अपने बच्चों के लिए यहाँ हैं, लेकिन सिबलिंग्स हैं, बच्चे हैं, उन्हें थोड़ा आप संभालिए. आपके सहयोग के लिए सफायर 2 में बच्चों को संभालने के लिए हमने पूरा इंतजाम कर रखा है. कृपया हमारा सहयोग करें इसमें, और हॉल में कोई भी गतिविधि ना हो और शांति बनाए रखें. ये हमारे मंच के मेहमानों के सम्मान में आप इतना प्लीज़ करिए. थैंक यू. यस मैम.
Thank you. So I think a common concern among parents is my child eating well? Is the child getting proper nutrition? Are we giving too little? Are we giving too much? Every mother particularly concern is to make sure that the child eats well and grows well. I think, Dr. Pradeep can answer it better, but in general, if a child is growing well, gaining weight appropriately, that means the child is eating well. If the child is not getting proper nutrients, particularly things like iron or calcium, you can notice because the child will be weak and tired. So a child which has been active becomes weak and tired, apart from thinking of, say, things like thyroid. It's very important to check some basic things like the hemoglobin, iron levels. These types of things are checked. Now, what we are facing is the opposite problem. We are seeing children who are being fed too much. So we'll end up seeing them at the, in their 20s and 30s when they develop diabetes and other, what I mentioned earlier, metabolic health issues. So it's very important that from a young age, we teach children how to eat healthy. As far as I'm concerned, I think the most important aspect of a healthy diet is letting children eat when they are hungry. We shouldn't be forcing food on them because we think the time is right. All of us have been brought up like that. We think that at 9 o'clock we need breakfast, at 1 o'clock right now we are all getting ready for lunch, and then at 6 o'clock. So we tend to override our signals. If you see small babies, between the ages of 3, 4, 5 years, they will eat when they're hungry. They will go through days when they are not eating much. They will go through days when they are eating everything in sight. So ideally, we shouldn't interfere with the hunger signals. If a child is hungry, child will eat whatever healthy food we give it. The problem is we tend to spoil the children's appetite by letting them eat, say, junk food, biscuits and chocolates. Then the appetite for healthier food becomes blunted. So it is important that the child has access to normal healthy food and limited to very little access to junk food. And that would involve, I think, the cooperation of all members of the family. There is no point in leaving something there and saying, no, 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 not for you, and shouting at them. I think it's important that we don't have that temptation. I think it's good for everybody to follow a diet. What I think is a healthy diet is mainly 3 things. Eating less often, eating less carbohydrate, and having more fiber and vegetables. This becomes more important, particularly when children, of course, growing children, we should make sure that they're getting enough protein, enough fiber. If you're purely a vegetarian, we would say eat more dal, eat more pulses, drink milk unless you're allergic to milk. There are some children who are allergic to milk who cannot take milk. There may be some lactose intolerance, digestion issues. Otherwise, particularly for vegetarians, milk is an important source of protein. So important for children to get a lot of protein related items, but when they start entering their teen years, start cutting back on junk food. This is when they also become less active. So a combination of eating more at that age because they are growing and being less active means that that is when they start gaining weight, which causes future health issues. So important that ultimately we eat healthy, and we lead by example and let the children also eat healthy because of that. So less carbohydrate, less protein, and less carbohydrate, less sugar, eating less often, trying to eat when you're hungry, paying heed to your body's hunger signals. I think all these are very important aspects of a proper nutrition plan. Sorry, Pradeep, I just wanted to mention there's a very common misconception about thyroid and diet, like you had mentioned. A lot of people think that if you have a thyroid problem, you shouldn't be eating cabbage and cauliflower. I hear this day in and day out, and there are doctors also who sometimes consider this to be true. Cabbage and cauliflower do not cause any problems with your thyroid functioning, provided they are cooked. It is only if you eat large quantities of these sulfur-containing chemicals raw. So you're going to have raw cabbage leaves, raw cauliflower 3 times a day, daily, and not eating anything else. Potentially, for some people, may interfere with the thyroid function. As far as thyroid is concerned, you don't need to avoid anything in your diet. You don't need to avoid millets. You don't need to avoid cabbage and cauliflower. You don't need to avoid any of these things. For thyroid, you basically need a good healthy diet, which I had mentioned earlier. But otherwise, specifically for thyroid, nobody needs to follow any specific diet modifications.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for...
न्यूट्रिशन, मेरा बच्चा अच्छे से नहीं खाता, ये हर माता पिता का कंसर्न होता है. जहाँ तक बच्चा फिट है, उसकी एक्टिविटीज़ नॉर्मल हैं, तो सब नॉर्मल है. इस पर अच्छी बात डॉक्टर प्रदीप बता पाएंगे. मेरे हिसाब से हेल्दी ईटिंग है, जब बच्चे को भूख लगे वो तब खाए. जंक बच्चे के लिए ही नहीं होना चाहिए, पूरे परिवार के लिए होना चाहिए. ये नियम नहीं हो कि आप ये नहीं खा सकते हैं और परिवार के बाकी लोग खा रहे हैं. टीनेज आते आते बच्चे को प्रोटीन और फाइबर से रिलेटेड चीज़ें ज़्यादा दें, कार्बोहाइड्रेट कम दें. बढ़ते हुए बच्चे के शरीर को इसकी बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत होती है. सबसे बड़ी बात है, भूख के इशारे समझिए. बढ़ते बच्चे को न्यूट्रिशन की ज़रूरत होती है. सल्फर की अधिकता वाली चीज़ें एक लिमिटेड मात्रा में ली जा सकती हैं. फूल गोभी, पत्ता गोभी को पूरी तरह बंद करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. वो अलग बात है कि आप दिन में 3 बार उन्हें ना खाएं.
Thank you, ma'am, for highlighting the importance of balanced diet. Most importantly, we should not load them with unnecessary calories, and very importantly, we shouldn't take off important nutritional diets unnecessarily also. So it will start with cabbage and cauliflower. Somebody in the house will tell about fish, somebody will tell about egg, and ultimately child will not get any nutritional food which is required for them for the early nutrition and the development. So with that, we will move on to our special educator, Ms. Hema. When should the special education start and when should it end? Or is it necessary it has to go on forever? And what should not be missed out in early intervention? With your special educating point of view, what is the priority during preschool age? And after that, how does the speech and physio help? You all work together, no? So how you complement each other in bringing up a child, particularly with regards to special education? And priority stimulation, what is that and why is it needed in school age?
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you everyone to be here, and good morning to all of you. I think it was a pleasant morning, and we all are very eager to speak to you all and hear from you all about your children also. I think we have one session, and we have some other session tomorrow also. So there's a lot of interaction going to be happening. Right now, I would like to say the last point that doctor said, how is physio, speech and special education going to help a child together? That's very important. That's the last question, but the most important question. When we work together with a child, with all these, in all these 3 fields, it really tremendously shows an improvement. How it happens? Suppose I'm as a special educator, waiting for the child to talk and then start my session, that is going to only delay the child. Especially when as a special educator, my duty is to improve the cognition in the child. And my duty is also to stimulate the child either to talk or either to jump or to use the hand and every other body part. So it is not that special education isolatedly does something magic. So we need to work together. That's very important. So the last question is the first answer. And then when should it start and when should it end? It should start as early as possible, but we usually wait for the neck control. So only when the child has a neck control, we can see that the child looks at me. How do I say, if the child is still lying on the floor, and then I'm trying to say that, look at me sitting on a chair or sitting on even a smaller stool, how will the child look at me? That's not possible. So we expect the child to have a neck control, sit erect, and look at us when we are going to do a training session. That's the first question. The second one is, when is it going to end? Usually there is no end for it, but as per the norms for a special education, it ends by the age of 15 or 16, whereby the child has to enter into pre-vocational status. That is, again, the child will be learning special education as a functional academics. Until that time, we can do every other cognition that any other child gets it. There's no differentiation at all. We need not say that this child has to learn something less at any point of time. Try to give in. It is all in our hands. The techniques should be very much ready with us so that we can push the child to learning more. So for those techniques, again, I need a physical interaction over there. If my child is not able to jump, and I have a technique where I'm teaching a child to jump and learn, how will the child do it? So that's the reason I need a physiotherapist along with me. If the therapist is helping me to see that the child will learn to jump, and I will know that my child can learn better using a kinesthetic model. That's called kinesthetic model, where the child will jump and learn. So if I'm using that strategy, I need physiotherapy. So how we are interrelated. Coming back to speech. If the child is able to talk, very fine. If the child is not able to talk, also very fine. We need not wait for the speech to happen to start special education at any point of time. Is a deaf child not able to read? Yes, they are able to read. Is a blind child not able to read? Yes, they are able to read. Only the modalities will change. If my child doesn't have a speech, but still I want to see that the child is reading, or the mother says, how do I know that the child is reading? It's very easy. The child can point it out. While you're reading, the child is reading. It's as simple as that. So you should not wait for the child or the speech to happen to start special education at any cost. So start special education as early as possible, as soon as the neck control has happened. And probably the eye vision and all is all the doctor's part. Morning, whatever was the session, is an amazing session for me rather than any one of you. Because unless we see all these parameters, it is very difficult for me as a special educator to go forward. So it is very important for me to have a report of all these things. And the second thing about the physio helping me as a special educator is, when the child starts crawling, it is called crisscross. The brain work together. That is, the left and the right brain hemispheres work together. If the child is going to skip crawling and directly go for standing, and the child starts walking, sometimes the parent come back saying, crawl nahi kiya, but chalna shuru kar diya. That is, we are very happy. The child started walking. So we don't insist them to crawl. But what happens as a special educator for me is, if the child has not crawled, both the hemispheres does not work together. That's called the crisscross, or the ipsilateral working of the brain. Whatever my right hand is doing, my left brain gets the message. Whatever my left hand is doing, my right brain gets the message. If this doesn't happen, and in the reading what really is happening, if I'm trying to teach the child, ka, a, ta, my left and the right letters are moving for me. I don't know how to perceive it. So the sounds also, the audibility also, the way the child takes it also differs. So this is so important. So don't miss out anything at the physio as well as at the special. So if you're missing it out, we are going to miss out here also. That's very important point that I would like to tell it here. And when the child is squatting, that is one part of the physio, child has started squatting probably at the age of 2. Mostly, if the child has got the proper intervention of physio, the child will squat at the age of 2. That means the child is ready for toileting. So you don't have to wait to say that, abhi chalna shuru nahi kiya, to toilet training nahi kiya. No, at the age of 2, you should have started your toilet training. The child will definitely have learned it by 2.5. That means if I'm putting my child into there's a third question I'm going to now. What is the most priority for the child to go into the preschool? That priority is toilet training. If you would have started at 2, the child would have definitely learned by 2.5, or at least by 3. So what is the priority for a preschooler to go into school? Is toilet trained. The child should have been toilet trained. A lot of cognition happens when the toilet trained child is there. You know, the child learns so much. The bladder control helps the child to learn so much. So there's a lot of things that happens only due to all this personal skills development. So personal skill development is very important for a preschooler. You don't have to teach please ABCDs for a preschooler. Preschooler can learn it later in the school or at the later stage. But the preschooler should have got all the personal skills. Eating by itself, he can spill but still eat by himself. The child should be able to go to the toilet. The mother can help while wearing on the panties or removing the panties, all that is fine. But the child should be able to indicate the toileting needs. That's very important. That is the cognition. I think you all are getting it. If the child is able to indicate the need, the cognition is happening. If that cognition is happening, the child will read. That is the stepping stone. And if the child, as the doctor said, please give the child when the child is hungry. That means the child should show the signs of hunger. That's very important. That is the initial part of the speech. If the child is able to cry when the child is hungry, that means the child is able to speak. So that is again a cognition. If the child is able to do it, the cognition is happening. All these things are so interrelated, which leads to better special education. Special education doesn't happen as a magic. If all of us work together, special education happens, and it all happens only because of parents. I will definitely say it's only because of the parents. We can only give ideas. All this personal skills will be developed at home. It is all as a home program. So if you're not delaying the personal skills, special education becomes easier. So they can catch up easier. So the fourth question was, the fourth question is answered. What is the priority stimulation in the school age? Yeah. Priority stimulation required in the school age is, usually we all think, oh, they should learn to read ABC, they should know to identify, they should know to read counting, they should do counting and identify the numbers. None of this. The priority is sitting tolerance. If the child is able to sit in the classroom, the child will learn. Through auditory or through visual or through kinesthetic, any other modalities, the child will learn. But if there's no sitting tolerance, if the child is going to always go on roaming around and not listening to the teacher or not even having an eye contact at the board, then it is a fault. So give that practice of sitting tolerance. That doesn't mean you will put the child in front of the TV and say that my child can sit for half an hour in front of the TV. That is not sitting tolerance. If I am able to tell a story and my child is able to sit in front of me and listen to me a story, then that is a sitting tolerance. So while feeding food, no TV. While feeding food, no mobile. When I say TV, no, one parent came and said, no madam, TV nahi dekhti hai, mobile dekhti hai. Very fine. This is not, so no TV or mobile or any screen time is a screen time, okay? So while feeding food, please go back to your primitive methods of telling stories so that the child will hear. And while feeding food, what really happens, the child chews and the ears open up. These are all very important points that you have to catch up. So you can easily tell a story and the child will easily catch up. So this is very important of course, the rest of it I will not tell because the speech therapist needs something, no. So I will leave it to her. So this is all going to stimulate special education. So there's no big worry about special education. Tomorrow we'll have a bigger session to talk about practicals. With this I'll end. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. हेमा मैम ने कहा स्पेशल एजुकेशन फिजियो स्पीच मेरे बच्चे को ये सहायता कैसे करेंगे, ये सबसे मुख्य सवाल है। स्पेशल एजुकेशन स्पेशल टीचर होने के नाते मेरी जिम्मेदारी है कि मैं बच्चों के सर्वांगीण विकास पर बात करूं। नए कंट्रोल आने पर स्पेशल एजुकेशन को हम शुरू कर सकते हैं। फंक्शनल एकेडमिक व्यवहार, इसकी शिक्षा देने के लिए लगभग 14 साल तक स्पेशल एजुकेशन दी जा सकती है। जब बच्चे को कूदना मैं सिखा रही हूँ तो मैं और भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें उसे सिखा रही हूँ, वो बहुत सारी चीज़ें इसमें साथ में सीखता है। अब मैं स्पीच पर वापस आकर बात करूँ तो अच्छा नहीं बोलता या बोल नहीं सकता, अगर बोलता है तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं बोलता तो भी बहुत अच्छी बात है। बोले बिना कैसे पढ़ लेगा, आप ये सवाल करेंगे। अगर ऐसा है तो वो बोले बिना पढ़ सकता है और वो इशारों से आपको अपनी बात समझा सकता है, वो आसानी से अपनी बात आपको बता देगा। इस सब की भी हम रिपोर्ट उसमें बनाते हैं। दिमाग के दोनों हिस्से अलग अलग तरीके से काम करते हैं। स्पेशल एजुकेशन में हम उन्हें भी देखते हैं। जब हमारे दिमाग का एक बायां हिस्सा काम कर रहा होता है तो हम अपने शरीर के दाएं हिस्से के हाथ पैर आदि से काम लेते हैं। घुटनों पर चलना, आँखों का व्यवहार, ये सब देखना भी स्पेशल एजुकेशन में ज़रूरी होता है। 2 साल की उम्र के करीब आप अपने बच्चे को टॉयलेट ट्रेनिंग दे सकते हैं, चाहे वो चलना सीखे चाहे नहीं। टॉयलेट ट्रेनिंग इसलिए ज़रूरी है कि 2.5 से 3 साल की उम्र में प्री स्कूल का समय होता है, जब आप अपने बच्चे को स्कूल भेजना शुरू करते हैं। तो टॉयलेट ट्रेनिंग आनी चाहिए। वो अपने कपड़ों को दोबारा से पहन पाने की समझ तब तक ना भी रखे, लेकिन इशारा करके अपनी नेचुरल कॉल के लिए बता सके, इतना बहुत है। वो भूख के इशारे कर सके, बोलकर बता सके, ये भी बोलने का ही लक्षण है, इतना भी बहुत है। ये समझ के इशारे हैं और अच्छी बात है कि बच्चा इन बातों को समझ रहा है। स्पेशल एजुकेशन में हम सिर्फ सहायता कर सकते हैं, काम जो है वो पेरेंट्स को करना है, आप ही हैं जो इस सब को करने वाले हैं। स्कूल जाने के वक्त बैठने की प्रैक्टिस आ जाना सबसे बड़ी चीज़ होती है। बैठने की प्रैक्टिस का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आपका बच्चा बैठकर टीवी देख रहा है। कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि नहीं, टीवी नहीं, मोबाइल देखता है, एक ही बात है। आई कांटेक्ट कर रहा है और टीवी के सामने बैठकर समय गुजार रहा है, ये बैठने की परीक्षा नहीं है। अगर वो बैठकर एक कहानी में इंटरेस्ट ले रहा है और आपकी कहानी सुन रहा है, तो ये उसकी सिटिंग की कैपेसिटी बताता है। स्पेशल एजुकेशन पेरेंट्स के साथ मिलकर बहुत आसानी से बच्चे के सर्वांगीण विकास के लिए की जा सकती है। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, ma'am. So it was really very informative, because education we always comprehend to the regular conventional education, and our mind goes to the school. So special education, and along with education we think of school time, extra time, there will be a special education. It's a learning point that to prepare a child for the conventional education itself, you need special education much before you think of schooling itself for that child. That is the baseline information ma'am has given. We'll move on to our speech pathologist, Saranya. How early, that is the common question, how early we have to think of speech stimulation or therapies? What are the difficulties, the concepts of speech therapy, and how you take these children along with you, with the speech?
Good afternoon. So before I answer your question, we had Sharan address the audience just a while ago, and while he was talking, I was observing his articulation very keenly. This happens by default because my ears are tuned to doing that. And when I was listening to him, I was stumped, amazed, because he was so good. His articulation was so good. Please hear it from me. Please hear it from me that it was amazing. And to get there, it takes a lot of time and effort. That is what I want to say. I want to highlight, to get to the stage where Sharan is right now, it takes a lot of effort and lot of time, and it involves the child, the parent, and us. So coming back to Sir's question, speech therapy can start very early. You don't have to wait for the 1-year marker where, somewhere around the first birthday, probably a few weeks earlier or later, your child should start walking and talking. So that 1-year marker is a general gold standard that is followed. But communication starts very early, much earlier than that. So your child cries, you feed the child, right? So communication is established there itself. And as early as 6 months, you will start noticing that your child starts, making sounds, vocalizations, babbling and all that. So if you feel that your child has had a delay in development, please remember 6 months is the right age to contact a speech language pathologist. 6 months, as early as 6 months. So, the main thing here is, I would like to highlight that the more time you take to contact or to reach out to a speech pathologist, the more is the gap that needs to be bridged. It becomes very difficult to do that. So the earlier you reach out, the easier it becomes both for the SLP as well as the parent to bridge the gap. The second part of the question that sir asked me was, what are the components of speech therapy? What is this speech therapy all about? Speech therapy is nothing. It is what our grandmothers and parents and, the joint family setup gave us in the, previous generation. I believe I belong to the previous generation, though in my mind I'm youth. But yes, we did not have so many children not talking and having developmental delays in that age, in that time and age, because there was a lot of stimulation that was happening by default, which is missing today, thanks to nuclear families and thanks to, technology, which can be considered a big bane in this context. So speech therapy is basically when we work with the children, we work on 4 components or 4 domains. One is the pre-linguistic skills. Now this first part is where I really depend on the work done by physiotherapists and occupational therapists. So pre-linguistic skills form the bricks, the foundation for doing any language activity, for learning any kind of language learning. Now this involves eye-hand coordination, sitting tolerance, joint attention. What is joint attention? Engaging. The entire therapy session involves engagement between the therapist, the child and the parent. Okay, so if that engagement is not there, then, we have to start working on joint attention first, right? So this forms the foundation, basically, and then the second component that would be addressed is comprehension. So many parents come and tell me, "वो सब कुछ समझता है ma'am. He understands everything, लेकिन एक शब्द भी नहीं बोलता है." Why? Because he is not given the opportunity to communicate verbally. Or you have been consistently satisfying his communication needs when he communicates non-verbally. पानी चाहिए आपको? पानी चाहिए? ले लो, वहाँ पे है, ले लो. Okay, or if the child says, you go take the glass of water and hand it to the child in his hand. How is he going to ask for it? He's never going to ask for it. So stop satisfying the child's needs. When the child communicates non-verbally, your child will talk automatically. So coming back to comprehension, if your child can understand everything, good, I say, good, very good, which means your child has a very fat bank balance. Okay? Your child has a very rich vocabulary of words stored as a template. All you need to do is start withdrawing money from the bank. Help the child facilitate communication, verbal communication, by helping the child use the language that is acquired for communicating his needs. That's all you need to do. So pre-linguistic skills is the first component, comprehension, the second component, and please remember, most children with Down syndrome have very good comprehension skills, way ahead of expression, way ahead of expression. There's a huge disparity between receptive language and expressive language, and that's normal, so don't stress about it. The third is verbal expression. So it takes a couple of years for us to figure out whether the child is, skewing towards being verbal or non-verbal. Okay, so whether the child is verbal or non-verbal, all you need to do is to get the child to communicate somehow. Okay, so if the child is predominantly non-verbal, it's okay. It's okay. And here, again, I need the help of special educators who facilitate reading. Now, reading is a beautiful channel that opens up other channels of communication. Okay, so reading, putting the child on communication boards like AAC boards or alternate augmentative communication, which will help them communicate their needs by pointing. It was very low tech back then. Today, it's all high tech. You have apps that help the child to communicate. So the role of a special educator is very, very heavy in this part of communication, and we work hand in hand to help the child through this whole process. The next part is the oromotor stimulation, oromotor, orosensory. Please remember that it is very important that you understand that your child has motor difficulties which are seen in the oral cavity as well. Okay, so if you say ba, bolo ba, maybe the child wants to say it, the child can say it, but he or she is not able to execute it. Not able to execute it because of motor difficulties, muscle tone difficulties, range and speed of the articulators, the tongue movements, everything could be affected to a certain degree. So it is very important to work on oromotor stimulation, orosensory as well. And all this has to be done, it's like a beautiful Rajasthani thali. You have to have all the components for it to make it complete. Okay? So you can't say, okay, for 3 months I'm going to work only on pre-linguistic skills. Next 4 months, this is not a budget. Okay, you're not making a yearly budget or anything. Every single session of therapy, okay, of say 40 minutes, which is standard, should have 10 minutes of each of these components. 10 minutes of each of these components has to be worked upon. First couple of minutes of pre-linguistic activities, then set activities, design activities for comprehension, work on activities on expression, and then finish up your therapy session with oromotor activities. So this is holistic. You cover everything in one session. Okay? And I'm often asked one question. Do we have to stick to one language, to enhance, to speeden up speech and language development in my child? No. The answer is no. Because unless your child has severe to profound sensory difficulties, be it vision or hearing, your child has the ability to learn the mother tongue as well as a secondary language. So when you say, open the door and come here. Darwaza khol ke, please bear with my terrible Hindi. Darwaza khol ke yahan aa jao. Okay, correct? Thank you for the thumbs up. So when you say this parallelly, trust me, your child has the ability to decode every single word. They can. So don't stick to one language unless and otherwise your child is having a severe hearing impairment and struggling to cope with inputs, receiving inputs. At that time, after assessing the child, we will take a call on whether, you have to stick to one language or you can go bilingual. So again, in tomorrow's session, I am going to be highlighting a lot of these aspects and about what parents have to do at home. So that is something that we need to sit and talk. We really need to have that discussion, and it's going to happen tomorrow. Thank you.
हमने शरण को अभी बात करते हुए सुना, मैं उसे सुनकर स्तब्ध थी। उसकी आर्टिकुलेशन कमाल की थी। यहाँ तक पहुँचने के लिए कड़ी मेहनत की ज़रूरत होती है। स्पीच थेरेपी 1 साल की उम्र में लगभग शुरू कर सकते हैं, पर कम्युनिकेशन उससे बहुत पहले शुरू हो जाता है। स्पीच थेरेपी क्या है? वो ही जो हमारे दादा नानी दादी आदि संयुक्त परिवार में करते थे। न्यूक्लियर परिवारों में अब वो नहीं है। सिटिंग अटेंशन क्या है? जॉइंट एंगेजमेंट, ये सब क्या है? साथ में व्यवहार करना, ये साथ में बातचीत करना, यही तो है। पेरेंट्स कहते हैं कि बच्चा एक शब्द नहीं बोलता, समझता सब कुछ है। असल में कम्युनिकेशन सब कुछ है, लेकिन नॉन वर्बल बातचीत करने पर अगर आप बढ़ावा देंगे तो वो बोलेगा कैसे? उसके पास शब्दकोश है, वो बोल सकता है, आप बस उसे मौका दीजिए। ये ऐसे ही है जैसे बैंक में से हम पैसे निकालते हैं, उसे बोलने दें, उसकी ज़रूरतों को बिना बोले पूरा ना करें। कॉम्प्रीहेंशन यानी कि समझ, चेतना डाउन सिंड्रोम प्रभावित बच्चों में खूब होती है। नॉन वर्बल या वर्बल सभी के लिए बोलने के लिए हम पढ़ने का सहारा लेते हैं। यहाँ मैं स्पीच में स्पेशल एजुकेटर का सहारा लेती हूँ। हम हाथ से हाथ मिलाकर साथ में काम करते हैं। अब मोटर स्किल्स की बात करते हैं। जीभ के बहुत सारे मूवमेंट हैं जिनकी वजह से बच्चा बोलना चाहकर भी नहीं बोल पाता है। तो ओरल मोटर एक्सरसाइज हैं जो इसमें हमारे बच्चे को हेल्प करती हैं। एक स्पीच का सेशन क्या होता है, 10-10 मिनट अलग अलग इन सभी क्षेत्रों पर काम होना चाहिए, इन सभी की एक्टिविटी होनी चाहिए। जब तक कोई बड़ी शारीरिक समस्या ना हो, बच्चा एक से ज़्यादा भाषाएं बोल सकता है। एक भाषा को वो समझ ले तो आप दूसरी पर जा सकते हैं। इन्हीं सब पर मैं बात करने के लिए यहाँ हूँ। आज और कल हम बैठकर इन सब पर बात करेंगे। धन्यवाद।
Thanks a lot, Sharanya, because this is one part where we all struggle. The pediatrician who are taking care of children, we are able to make them walk, but again, making them talk properly is a big challenge for us, for the parents. So it is a relatively complicated, complex topic, and it has to be consistent also. The therapies, the follow-up, and parental role is very important. You've highlighted enough about the speech aspect, speech concepts. Thanks a lot for that. So with all these, so child has started walking, started education, started speaking. What more we have to give them? They have to apply all these in their life. So that is where the life skills come into picture. You're applying all these skills to lead a normal life, fruitful life, very successful life is where the life skill comes, and Yojana is here to explain you. So please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I would like to use the podium. I like to stand out, and I like to add a little humor too. Thank you. Okay. So, in the midst of winter, I found within my heart an invincible summer. So parents, wo diya kabhi bujhne na do. Keep the warmth in your heart alive always. Okay. So from the time our kids are born, what are we working on? We work towards developing their full potential and bringing them into the mainstream, so to say, of society. So we try to put them into schools and then go through the rut as far as possible. We want our children to go into a regular school, go through all the studies, the academics, and we feel that is all. Hamara bacha normal school mein jata hai, regular school mein, and we are so happy about it. But after doing this for a little time, the child is doing well. Like my daughter, she did her 10th standard, and I was so happy, you know, that, oh, she's able to read big fat books and she's able to do everything. But then one day, God decided to teach me a lesson. I had an accident and I broke my right wrist. And my hand was in the sling for a good 6 weeks. And it was at that time that I realized how little my child knows. With all her brilliance and all her whatever qualities and capabilities, she was not able to help me. I needed help to dress up. I needed help in the kitchen. I needed help for the household work, which she was incapable of. So let us go. This brings us to the life skills. What we need to go on in our life, the skills. So now life skills can be defined as abilities that enable us to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of life. Now these are a mixed bundle. They are a mix of knowledge, behavior, attitudes, values, traits, and abilities. So these are traits that we need to fulfill our life, to make the most out of it. And very simply defined, these are skills which make our lives better. Okay, so the first and foremost is communication. This involves speech and language. We've covered that beautifully, so I won't go deep into it. But I just want to say that the baby is communicating to you even from the womb. The mother gets up in the night at 2 o'clock and tells her husband, oh, I have a craving to eat strawberry ice cream. So who is telling her that? The baby from the womb is communicating to the mother. This is my demand right now and I want this. Okay. So the next skill would be personal care. So these are lessons in hygiene and cleanliness. We all know this. I won't go deep into this. But all these things have to be very, very early. But I want to stress upon menstruation. We just take it for granted that our girls are going to need help. They will not be able to manage it independently. And there was a survey, a national level survey once, which I had filled for Kimya, my daughter. And most of the answers were in the positive. They had asked, is your child independently able to change the pad, or does the child know that when the time is to change the pad, or whatever. So when those people, the organization went to the form, they took a special interview of Kimya and me. And there's a little joke here. When I said, Kimya, you're going to talk about this, and there's going to be an interview, she said, oh my God, no. But she knew even this, that talking about this is taboo. We don't make it public. But I want to make it public today because I want to benefit the mothers out here. So go ahead and teach your children, the girls, all about menstruation, and teach them to be independent because they are capable of handling it themselves. Okay. Then we come to decision making. So just now also we saw that बच्चे को पानी चाहिए, माँ जाती है, glass देके आती है. No, let the child decide. Every minute from the time we wake up, we are deciding things. We are making decisions. आज मुझे क्या करना है, मुझे क्या खाना है, मुझे कहाँ जाना है. So let the child decide. You don't decide it for him. He is capable of. He will do it. कि आज मुझे यहाँ, I have to attend this ceremony today. मैं कौन सा dress पहनूँ? In fact, for me also, I ask Kimaya, कि oh, what do you think I should wear today? And sometimes she comes up with such beautiful suggestions. And sometimes I forget. You know, she tells me, oh, but you can't go wearing this. So I tell her, why? Because you wore it the last time in the same place, in the same, with the same family gathering. I have forgotten that, but she remembers. So let your children decide. Include your children in whatever you're doing. So then there is a very, very important thing is financial awareness. We feel our children can't understand money concepts or ye, wo, little bit of counting here and there, and that's about it. So again, I want to share a joke. Ki when the father was very busy going to office, working, earning money, and then the child said, no, I want to spend more time with you. The father says, no, I have to earn money. So, but the child says, oh, but why? Money comes from the ATM, na? Ab jaake ATM se nikalo. So, teach the child proper meaning of money, monetary transactions, banking, whatever. So, one of the things that I do to help, he's an advocate to my husband. So, I write the full office accounts. I'm not into accounting at all, but at his request, I said, chalo, I'll help you with this. So when Kimya saw me doing it, she saw me visiting the banks and, you know, writing out stuff and all that. So she said, oh, this is so easy. I can easily do it. I myself did not trust her with it. I thought, arey, ye to, you know, it's such an intelligent thing to do. I'm sure she will not be able to do with so much of concentration and so many pages of stuff and whatever. But she does it. Of course, with an occasional mistake here and there, one more zero. And I asked my husband, well, who did you give this 1 lakh to? He says, no, it's only 10,000. So that way. Okay. But do teach your children about financial awareness. Then one more thing is very, very important, time management. Do we teach our children about time? We just tell them, हाँ, ये घड़ी अभी 2 बजा है, अभी 4 बजा है. But what time do we need to do what? Fix up a proper schedule. And also within the schedule, teach the children to be flexible. Because what happens is, if you're too rigid, then the children cannot be changed. They say, nahi, mujhe yahi karna hai. And that's what happened during the lockdown. Mujhe niche hi jana hai, ye mera play time hai, I want to go down. And the children did not understand why I need to be, you know, locked up in the house. So do make a schedule, but keep it flexible. Okay. Then, and for those who cannot understand the actual time, you can do things like before and after. In the morning, first, you brush your teeth and whatever, and then you take a bath, and then you take your breakfast, and then you dress up and go to school. So children understand what comes before, what comes after. Then, very, very important, problem solving. We never really teach our children, you know, because we are there to solve all their problems. So, supposing now the school bus has not arrived. So there are options. What do? Either you drop the child. So every time you do something, you tell the child why you're doing it. Oh, there's a problem. Oh, but there is also a solution. तो हम क्या करें? Okay, I'm busy, I cannot drop my child, but neighboring child goes to the same school, I can ask that mother to drop. So find a solution and teach the children that this is the solution to your problem. You don't have to miss school, I will see that you reach the school, but we'll work it out this way. So always inform the child what you're doing and why you're doing it. Then another important skill is socializing. Man is a social animal, you're here to mingle. You're here to be with other beings, not just human beings, but all living beings. So we can interact with pets as well. Then very, very important in today's world is being technology smart. All our children are using a lot of technology, and it's very, very important. Kimya is so much in touch with her family abroad, her cousins, her friends. She still is in touch with her school friends because of WhatsApp. So teach technology to your children. And be creative and innovative. Don't teach them the set pattern. ये ऐसा ही draw करना है. You give the colors to the child and tell him, ये ऐसे करो, आपको जैसे अच्छा लगे वैसा करो. And the use of alternatives. अगर मुझे cooking करना है, gas lighter नहीं चल रहा है, of course I have a matchstick, I can light the gas with that. Then ethical moral behavior, this is very important. Teach the children respect, acceptance, consideration, appreciation, listening, affection, empathy, love towards all other living beings. Then household skills. See, it's not important to teach chemistry to a child. Sodium chloride, it's just salt. मुझे इतना मालूम होना चाहिए कि मैं ये रसोई बना रही हूँ तो मुझे इतना salt डालना है कि इतना. That is important. Then leisure and recreation. हम क्या करते हैं? It is never planned. हाँ चल पिक्चर जाएंगे, चल मॉल जाएंगे, चल बाहर खा के आते हैं. That is our recreation. Yeah. Okay. I'll end with this. I just want to tell you that you understand this and make your child also understand this, that I have this ability and not a disability. So please, please bring up your children in this way. And I want to thank, of course, the DSFI and all the beautiful ladies out here. But I want to thank Kimya specially. It is because of you that I'm a part of this amazing, warm, and loving family, the Humsafars. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
इस दुनिया की किसी भी भाषा में ये ताकत नहीं है जो एक माँ के शब्दों को ट्रांसलेट कर दे. तो मैं समझती हूँ जो दिल से निकली है वो दिलों तक ज़रूर पहुँच गई होगी. हमारे हमारी एक्चुअली हमारी मंच की आगे की गतिविधियों के लिए मैं अपनी दोस्त समीक्षा को आमंत्रित करती हूँ.
Oh my God, it has been so many reminders, so many new information shared by our experts. And on behalf of the entire team of IIDSC 2023, sir, would you like to conclude? Yeah? So we sincerely want to appreciate the invaluable contribution of our panelists on these most important areas of early intervention and continued support we should provide our self-advocates to make them highly independent. Your experience sharing has reminded us of the importance of being patient and observant with all our champs. It also revealed many new insights and information we knew nothing about. Thank you for elevating our knowledge in that short period. And to Dr. Pradeep, we want to thank you a dozen times for moderating both the sessions so efficiently. And we were so assured that who will be able to extract the most important and the right amount of information from our experts of medical and therapy intervention sessions, because who else than a geneticist himself will better know how this extra chromosome impacts the entire human body. Thank you so much, sir. So we once again call upon our Rekha Ma to speak a few words of encouragement, and we would request Anupama and Brinda to assist to Anupama to please give the small token of appreciation which is made by our self-advocate to all the panelists on the stage.
It is an intention that within the next 2 or 3 years, we want a medical panel and we want experts like this in every state. because we need support. We need their support because we don't know what is special education. We don't know speech therapy. We don't know what the psychiatrist is going to say. We have no idea. We know we have a child, we want the child happy. Thank you. No, come on. We need them. So I cannot tell you what it means to just say, okay, go here, you'll get help. You know, that help that we need at that moment, only we know. We are people who are literally bogged down by the fact that we don't have people to serve us and tell us what's right for the moment. I wish we had more people like this, and really honestly, they are God's gift to us. Put your hands together for the best group. Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you once again. Thank you, Pradeep. Awesome. Thank you. You moderate so well. You are the moderator forever. You can take over. That role is much better than genetics, okay? This is much nicer. Thank you. Really, honestly, they've been sitting here from the morning, so yes, thank you all very much. Lunch is ready. You can have a nice evening. Afternoon, kya hai? Oh yeah, you have your medical panels in the afternoon. So any questions, we are all there. We will help you, we'll look after you. All be there, please. Lunch, I know you're going to run now. Lunch. And there are two major areas we have separated, 200 for the catering.
So as of now, we finish at this hall, and we will see you. The lunch is, behind this hall also, and at the Darbar also. But before you part for the lunch, we would want to acknowledge the contribution of a few partners. Together with them, we wouldn't have shaped this event the way you are experiencing it. To start with, Bubbly Foundation, Ashai team, Mediscan, Babylon, Newton, ICAD, Rainbow Children Hospital, Pearl Academy, Tickle Your Heart. If you can give applause to our partners, please. The Palace, Webrinoka, Arna Foundation, and Indira Child Care. Thank you so much, partners. And now you can proceed for the lunch, and we will see you in the evening at the Lotus Court. If it is not, the rain god is not very happy, and showering his blessings on us. Otherwise, we meet in the same hall. 5:30 sharp, okay? So you need to all be decked up for the Rangarang Karikram of the evening. Thank you.